This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. From the big plays to life's everyday moments, see it all in sharp focus with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Sooner Scoop LASIKs.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Rodosovich, George Stoya here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. Welcome back to the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel, and it's happened. Spring ball, it's come to an end. The Crimson Combine this afternoon, obviously a lot of stuff afterwards. I think that is going to be of more interest to you out there as we talk to Brent Venables, we talked to Ben Arbuckle for the first time, Nate Dreiling, John Mateer, Wes Goodwin made his appearance on the podium, as well as a number of the current players.
Robert Spears-Jennings, Kip Lewis, Troy Everett, Grayson Halton.
Yeah, I think that was about it. Yeah. You can catch all of the interviews with the players on the Soonerscoop.com editorial page. All of the coaches, Brent Venables, obviously, John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle are all right here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. But welcome in, everybody. We're going to hit on some stuff that Brent Venables had to say. Real quick, Crimson Combine, just overall observations. Did you make anything out of it? I thought it was kind of stupid. Let's be honest about it. But at the same time, it was good to get out there, see some of the guys move around a little bit.
Yeah. It was interesting, I guess.
Okay, George is saying it was kind of stupid. But yes, we're all kind of saying that. So it is what it is. It's kind of the way of the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you'll see that. I mean, you saw Alabama's. I saw Nick Kelly put out the picture of the attendance at whatever they have going on, and there was no one there, it looked like, or at least not that many people. So it is what it is. College football's going away from the spring game. I think they should bring it back. I think that
I'm all in on the idea of teams scrimmaging one another, like Dion and
it'd be awesome.
Up at Syracuse.
I wish we would have been able to ask Britt that today. I know Mike Gundy's brought it up over at Oklahoma State.
Sure.
That'd be awesome. Bring a little bedlam. That would sell out the stadium. But I thought today was honestly just I wouldn't say a waste of time out there because you did get to see some players run around and stuff. But it is kind of crazy too that some people had to pay $10 to get into that today.
If nothing else, we did find our spring game hero, if you will, and Jacob Snyder. I thought he actually had a really nice day today.
He had a good day.
Caught a couple balls. So
I will say too, if you got kids and stuff, the autograph session looked like it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. And kudos to John Mateer. I think he stuck around for like an hour signing autographs after everything was done. And I'm sure that there was a couple people that had him sign a Jordan Fly Elite football. How about that? Good time to tell you about our good friends over at Big Game Football Factory. BigGameUSA.com/Sooners. That is BigGameUSA.com/Sooners. The first ever Jordan brand signature football here with the OU Jordan Fly Elite football signature innovation, performance, and swagger that are hitting the turf over at Gaylord Family Oakland Memorial Stadium. It is the official game ball of the Sooners, and you will see it all in action this evening or this season. You might have seen it this evening. If you want to see the ball fly through the air, check out the sights and sounds right here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. I think that's probably, if you weren't there today, the only way that you would be able to see the game. Or whatever
they
was.
did stream
it.
It actually showed,
it did?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
But it was apparently the stream started like 15 or 20 minutes late and ended about 30 minutes early.
Okay, so that sounds like an ESPN Plus operation.
Yeah, I don't think it was great.
They've been struggling. They've been struggling a little bit. All right, let's get into it because we did talk to Brent Venables today for the first time since the beginning of spring ball. And, I think everything that goes into 2025, we'll talk about all the defensive stuff here in the coming days and weeks as we go into what is, I guess, the summer and the off season, or whatever you want to call it. But it's important that this offense comes out of this spring portion or the spring period headed in the right direction, and it certainly seems to be the case.
Yeah, look, everything we've heard from the spring is that the offense has really clicked, and we'll get to Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, but when you talk about Brent Venables and how pivotal this season, coming up is for him and his career at OU, he needs this offense to turn around. And, talking to him today, he almost seemed a little bit giddy about the offense and the progress they've made. And, just some of the guys that have come back, but also how Ben and John have really been able to give this thing a boost. And, it sounds like it's really positive right now. They've stayed relatively healthy other than Giovanni. But I think that right now it seems like Brent's pretty happy with the progress they've made this spring.
Again, We'll see how this thing
Look,
comes
they
together.
didn't win any games in March or April, right? You don't win any games in March and April, but I do think there's something to be said about where this thing is now versus where it was a year ago.
And it certainly seems like, in just hearing Ben Arbuckle talk about what his vision is for this offense, there's definitely an idea of what they want to be. He knows exactly
100%.
what they want to be. I don't even think it's an idea. It's where he needs them to get to. But here is Brent Venables talking about just overall the offensive install here through the spring.
Offensively, I thought, again, we got into a great rhythm during the course of the spring. You know, you would never have known this was their first spring together, I'll be honest. And maybe some of that it was John and, you know, being with Ben at Washington State. And so the familiarity, they hit the ground running. So they did a wonderful job, you know, as far as installing, walking through, getting the players to play with confidence and, you know, not trying to figure things out day to day. They were really ahead of schedule, you know, for most of the spring.
Point in camp where you were that part that just kind of clicked with you, like, okay, the direction is where I want to see this going on offense?
I don't know. You take it in bits and pieces because the focus, you know, you're installing the whole time. And so you take it in bits and pieces and the things that we're doing. I don't know the exact moment, but, you know, they've gotten into a rhythm, different practices, different situationals. We worked a ton of situationals, every situational you can think of. We certainly worked it, and there's plenty of moments where they had great success. But I think here in the last week, you know, running the ball, you know, getting vertical and downhill, being physical, and you know, just everybody playing together, you know, as far as the offensive unit, you know, tight ends, tackles, guards, you know, quarterback, backs, and really I'm excited about the things that, you know, we saw. And again, not everybody's there yet too, so that's encouraging as well. But lots of different moments, Kerry, to answer your question, where you're like, okay, I thought we threw the ball and caught the ball as well as we have since I've been here. If you said something about something that stood out in the spring, very few balls on the ground. You know, top to bottom, you know, throughout the course of the spring. So
okay, I mean that sounds pretty good, right?
I mean, just the fact that he said, "Hey, they're catching the ball and throwing the ball better than they have," that says a lot.
Sure,
you know, so I think that it seems like everything's positive right now. You know, you feel good with the momentum heading into the summer, but you still have a lot to prove. But it really does feel like Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer have provided a spark for this program right now.
Well, let's talk about him, because I think that and it's something that they brought up after when we were talking to him on the podium after the combine, was just the fact that there was a lot of confidence within this group a year ago. At the same time, we were coming out of the spring ball, and, you know, Jackson Arnold, we had talked about their struggles, ups and downs throughout the spring a year ago. At the same time, though, when the season began and we saw the shit product that it became, let's be honest about it. I mean, that's putting it lightly, the way that we talked about this offense a year ago. There was a redevelopment, I think, mentally for a lot of these guys that are coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of asked about that today. Kerry and I both did, to Arbuckle and Mateer, and just about, you know, yes, they come in with a lot of confidence because they were great last year, right? At Washington State, they had one of the best offenses in the country. John Mateer, I think, led the country in total touchdowns. You know, was a top 5 guy in a lot of different categories. But you've got a lot of guys coming back from this Oklahoma offense a year ago that were part of a historically one of the worst Oklahoma offenses of all time. So building that confidence back up, you know, taking the small victories is something that they both talked about, and kind of using that as momentum, confidence to get those guys back to feeling like, hey, we can do this at a high level. Like, we have the right pieces. And now that you have an offense that it feels like there's just a lot more cohesion and direction in terms of what they're doing, and they have a quarterback who is just a lot more, I would say, I don't know if mature is the right word, but he's done it, and he's done it at a high level. And I think it's a lot easier to follow somebody that has done it, is proven, and is very confident in the offense that he's running, whereas last year they just didn't have that.
Sure. Here is Oklahoma first-year offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle, as well as the quarterback, John Mateer, talking on just that.
these guys have eaten it up since day one. I knew it would be that way whenever I got here. I knew these kids would be hungry to learn and hungry to get better and hungry to get on the same page. And these guys have gone really, really well with it. Before spring ball, the installations we did and meetings and some walkthroughs and some OTAs really came to light in spring ball. And everything that they learned there was able to transition directly to spring ball. That allowed us to progress at even a faster pace than kind of I anticipated. And so, now with a lot of the offense in and everything, it's just getting better, refining those little details on every single play, and the installation of it. The big part was all the quarterbacks. They knew it before we started spring ball, and that was the biggest thing because they could go out there and they could help everybody out, help all the receivers, tight ends, running backs out with where they're supposed to go, get the protection calls in for the offensive line. It was really, really good. It's been a fun spring install. Probably move a little bit faster than I anticipated. I like to be a little aggressive with it.
Yeah, I think, first of all, they're hungry for it. Like you said, it wasn't successful last year, and they don't like that. Nobody likes that. Everybody here's competitive, and they want it really bad. So, it's not hard to get it out of them. But there is a little culture shift that's happened, and that's going to keep happening. Just like getting used to scoring touchdowns and celebrating and being happy for everybody, and then playing complementary football with the defense is something that's going to happen. But it's not easy, but it's definitely trending that way.
Every time we've been out there 4 or 5 times, you show a lot of energy. And how important was it to you to kind of bring that urgency to these guys, and how do you feel like you've been able to kind of affect this team with that energy?
Yeah, I think the big thing with it all is that energy is, if I expect those players to be out there flying around and be urgent and highly detailed, I better be that same way too, and I better bring it to the nth degree, okay? Because those players are going to know that Coach Arbuckle loves football, maybe even more than them, and he loves being out there at practice because he knows that's where the mesh, the chemistry of the team happens. And so I'm going to bring it every day at practice, and those kids, they feed off it and they bring it too, and it's a lot of fun.
Go ahead.
2 things I think to take away from Arbuckle and Mateer from talking to him today and just the spring overall. Mm-hmm. Ben Arbuckle is confident in the offense that he's running, the scheme and all of that. And he's very confident in John Mateer executing the scheme.
They definitely have a relationship, and John talked about it a little bit more with him and the quarterbacks coach that came along with Ben Arbuckle, John
Kozowski.
Kozowski? Is that how we...
Something like that.
Kozowski. Well, I'm going to... Kozowski. Whatever. You know our troubles with pronunciation of names. When you have the last name Radosevich, you get a little bit of leeway. Stoya, not so much. It's very obvious, though, that they have a very, very good relationship among that trio.
And I hate to keep bringing up the past, but you look back and you're like, there was red flags with that last year. Where and again, I don't want to blame just Seth Luttrell or just Jackson Arnold, but it was a totally different situation. You had a young quarterback who hadn't done it before, has a lot of talent, right? Mm-hmm. But, doesn't know Seth Luttrell very well. Seth Luttrell's trying to mesh his offense that he had ran previously at other schools with Jeff Lebby's offense that he had left behind, and with a quarterback he doesn't know that doesn't have a ton of confidence. And you saw how that played out on the field. It was terrible. It was an awful product. And whereas this, it just feels, and this isn't to say that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer to come in here and win the Heisman and have the number 1 offense in the country or any of that, but I think there is something to be said of the success that they've had, and also just totally believing in the direction of this. Like, it doesn't feel like there's any hesitancy in terms of what they're trying to do and trying to accomplish on each and every play and each and every possession.
Unfortunately, Oklahoma's going to have to do that with Giovanni Gibson. Brent Venables did give us an update on Saturday after the Crimson Combine. But first, let us tell you about our good friends over at Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. You got the pullover on.
Pullover and
polo. You've doubled up today.
Yes.
All right,
I love
very
Rhoback.
Good. You won't have kids if you double up. The everyday shorts as well as the Delta Performance Pants. I have the Looper shorts coming in that I'm expecting here in the next couple days. Get out on the golf course now that spring ball's over. All you got to do is go to Rhoback.com, use the promo code Suitor20 for 20% off your order, and you can take care of that. Yeah, maybe John Kuzieski will take care of that. Well, maybe we should send him some, Carrie. All right, let's get into, obviously kind of the bad news that's coming out. It happened at the beginning of the week. It seems like that was months ago, but on Monday, Giovanni Gibson goes down. Brent Venables did confirm on Saturday that he did have surgery, as we had talked about on one of the practice reports this week, but certainly got a better idea about, maybe when he could come back.
Yeah, it sounds actually somewhat more positive than what maybe some were thinking. And there's been talk of, is he going to miss the whole season? Could he come back midway through the season? I mean, I'll let Brent tell you, but it sounds like he has a chance to maybe play earlier in the year than what we thought.
Giovanni was on the sidelines today, as you'll see here in the video, but here's Brent Venables just kind of giving an update on Giovanni Gibson as well as everybody else that's been working through some injuries or knick-knack, I guess, just whatevers.
Giovanni Gibson, I just saw him, and I had a surgery a couple of days ago, and I got rolled up on in practice, unfortunately, but if again just stays on schedule, he'll be back to start the season and be back with us. So similar injury to Kendall Dolby, not quite severe, but Kendall, we probably could have had him going a month ago, and but we chose to hold him out here this spring. Has recovered really nicely.
I mean, it sucks. Like, as a person, it sucks. Like, me and Giovanni, I went to his hotel room last night. He was staying in a hotel, and he's just a great human, so for that to happen really sucks. Like, it does. But it's football, like you said, and that's just the way it is. And you build relationships with everybody so that if one person you built a relationship with goes down, there's more relationships that you have. And there's a lot of talent on this team, and we're at Oklahoma, so there's talent everywhere, and it's just getting to it and getting everybody to their most potential.
Brent talks about Giovanni Gibson maybe possibly being back for the start of the season. I think I'm going to take a wait and see. Like, I'll have to see it to believe it approach on that. But it is better news than maybe we expected. It's better than him standing up there and saying, yeah, he's going to be out for the season.
And, him comparing it to the Kendall Dolby injury is interesting because we did the math. Kendall Dolby got injured in September. He was back, practicing in March. That was 7 months. If it's a little less severe, you'd assume maybe 5 to 6 months. For Giovanni, you're looking at August or September. So,
sure.
If he recovers really well and, there was no ligament damage, then I think he's got a chance to play a little bit next season. So we'll see. It's just, I think it's also one of those things, Eddie, where, as media and I'm sure the fan base, we remember what happened last year with all the receivers and none of them ever really came back.
Yeah,
and so it's like, until we see him out there actually playing on the football field, it's kind of a wait and see game.
Unless I missed him today, I didn't see Jaden Gibson out there.
Nope. I don't know what's going on there. We'll see. I think that there's a chance maybe he could end up in the portal. Obviously his injury was maybe a little bit more serious, the re-injury that is, than what was previously led on to be. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that kind of leads into the final item here in this practice report, recapping everything that was said after the Crimson Combine on Saturday boarding. You wake up to the news out of Knoxville with Nico Iamaleava headed out. He's expected to enter the transfer portal. The transfer portal opens on Wednesday, on April 16th, and that kind of opens this new era, if you will, for Oklahoma football with Jim Nagy and everything that he is going to be doing. He was on the broadcast or talking inside the stadium with Toby and Teddy and Gabe on Saturday.
Yeah, and he even brought up well, he didn't bring it up, but he was asked about, what's kind of going on at Tennessee and how do you, prevent that. And he talked about how, hey, this can't happen in Oklahoma. Like, we can't allow these type of things. There's red flags. And he talked a lot about, like, knowing who you're recruiting before you bring them to campus, whether that's the player, obviously the parents that have been looped in on the Nico thing, the handlers that have also been a part of this whole ordeal. So I think that's really interesting that, that was a part of what the discussion is for Oklahoma is like, who are you bringing with you in some of these negotiations and some of these deals? So it's going to be really interesting seeing what Oklahoma does in the spring portal. We've said on here, they're going to be aggressive from what we understand. I know Brent talked a little bit about that. Nagy's talked about, wanting to go out and get starters, not just depth guys. We kind of know the positions: tight end, receiver, running back, cornerback, interior offensive line. Like, those are the spots they're looking for. And it seems like the collaboration between Brent and Jim have been pretty good so far. And I think it's also freed up Brent quite a bit to let Jim kind of, handle the roster building and what players they want to go after in the portal and all of that. So I don't know. These are a couple big weeks, Eddie, because I think you look at this Oklahoma team and you say, this is a good team, right? You feel good about it. In fact, it might be one of the better rosters that, OU's had under Brent Venables. But if you can go out and get 4 or 5 guys that could be starters at some of those positions, maybe all of a sudden you're talking about a team that could be flying under the radar a little bit.
We can pump the brakes a little bit. Slow down on us now. Yeah. Here is Brent Venables talking about a pivotal couple of weeks coming up.
So that's an ongoing process. Just, he's hiring his staff, doing a great job there, getting all of his people in place. And I think he's got a few more spots still to fill. Getting to know the staff and getting to know the boards, the 26, the 27, the 28 class, getting to know the roster. I think he's, spending a lot of time building, trust and relationships with the guys in the locker room. That's really important. And then the staff learning, the processes on how, the new evaluation process, what that's going to look like, and the alignment of the communication, and just so many, systems and things of that nature that everybody's getting familiar with. And but he's doing a great job of, being in a million places at once, and putting the focus on the, the 26 class, our current roster. You got a transfer portal that's getting ready to open up, and address whatever needs, that might, come from there. And again, finding if there are any holes, that making sure that whoever it is that comes in, if anybody, that they can make us better. And
do you feel like you're holding out? What are your thoughts on renegotiating, that kind of thing?
I don't know. I haven't had to address anything like that. I don't know, a nightmare. I don't know. I've never been through anything like that. So
does it make you feel good that you have like a front office developing that might be able to handle that, so it doesn't?
Yeah, I think that's you want to be out in front of everything. I think being proactive, and I think retention is the most important part of the whole puzzle. And I think it starts inside out, and you want to develop a locker room that has continuity, consistency, stability, that's healthy to be successful. And I think if you look at our roster, just and the numbers that we've signed, each year it's gone down, and that's ideally what you want. You're going to have some fluidity. That's just the nature of where we're at today. And but you want guys that are sprinkled throughout your roster that have been here 3, 4, 5 years. In a perfect world, you want a roster that has somewhere in that 75 to 25, 80 to 20, high school to to portal range. I think that's a philosophy that we all believe in from a continuity standpoint. And but the front office is there to try to be, again, your headlights, and to be, again, proactive, and to anticipate, and to have on-hand management when it comes to, again, the fluidity and the ability to adapt and pivot at any step along the way.
There it is. It's a different world these days. I know that.
Yeah, and I don't think Oklahoma is going to be put in a situation like Tennessee has been in, which, credit to Tennessee. I think that they did
Big
the right
ups
thing.
to Josh Heupel. I love him just saying, hey, man, you want to play us like that?
I mean,
have fun.
He sounded like Bob Stoops today talking about it. No one's bigger than the program,
sure,
is what he said. And I think that's true. And look,
I wonder if they had conversations here this past week.
I think they had to have.
You think?
You mean him and Bob? I think you're talking about Josh and Nico. I was like, well, I'm sure.
No. Well, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, that too. I don't think Bob
probably
and Josh,
not.
but I do think that Josh probably learned a lot from Bob
sure.
and his time playing for him, and obviously coaching for him. But it's interesting, man, and what's going to play out with the revenue sharing and the house settlement and all of that is going to play a big role. But it does feel like Oklahoma, at least right now, is in good shape in terms of having a front office, having people take care of this, so that, we know Brent's a really good football coach. Like, he understands the game. Maybe having a front office and somebody like Jim Nagy to handle all this other extra BS allows him to just focus on coaching. And I think that might be what's best for the program right now.
That's the aim. A lot more of coverage to come from not just the Crimson Combine, but just more of a wrap-up of everything that's happened during the spring.
It's going to be a long summer.
Obviously, the recruiting report coming up on Monday. We will get into that, as well as middle of the week, we'll start taking a look at some of the guys that really made a name for themselves. I know Taylor Wine's another guy that continues. We talked about him on the practice report on Thursday. Continues to kind of make a name for himself in the OU defense. A lot of stories up on SoonerScoop.com from today. If you want to join the largest Oklahoma online community, you can do that for $1, and it really.
The best time to sign up is right now.
Sure.
Transfer portals.
Lots going to be happening.
I mean, it's going on. Oklahoma is talking to players, guys that have entered the portal and are going to enter the portal. Like, they are starting to make some moves. So there is literally no better time than now to sign up for Soonerscoop.com.
Very good. For George Stoya, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We will see you back here on the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel.